Hey, it's Chris from Petey's Playbook again. I'm in Louisiana this week playing a golf tournament, so I thought I'd take a little break and talk about practice rounds. This week, we're going to talk about the first three steps of the anatomy of the practice round: making a tee time, getting your yardage book, and elevation yardages. Now, the first step, making your practice round, seems really simple, but sometimes it's not that easy. You're going to want to call the course about a week ahead of time and make sure on the day you want to play your practice round, there's not some kind of member guest tournament if you're playing a country club. You really never know. I've had times where you couldn't play the golf tournament, the course, the day before the tournament. And if I didn't know that, I would have showed up and had no practice round and nothing to do that day. So make sure you call, get your tee time, preferably sometime near the actual tee time of the tournament you're going to play, if you know it by then. So that'll kind of simulate the actual round. It won't really make sense to play in the afternoon if you're going to play the morning the next day. Of course, it can be very different. The second thing I want to talk about is elevation yardages. Because the most important thing out there, other than course management and actually executing, is really knowing your yardages and being pin high as often as you can. We just saw Tiger dominate the Masters, and he won with his approach shots. He basically led the field in strokes gained approach. And what he does better than anyone else does is that he's pin high almost every single time if you watch. So really knowing how far your yardages are is a huge part of being a good iron player. And when you're traveling different places across the country, your golf ball is going to go very different yardages based on the elevation or the humidity. Places like Arizona has very little humidity and density of air, the ball just flies. Or if you're in areas like where I am now in Louisiana, super humid, it's basically a swamp, ball doesn't go anywhere here. So you're going to want to add or subtract about 7% of your yardages, plus or minus, based on 2,500 feet of elevation. So if your normal carry distance is 150 yards, and you go at 2,500 feet elevation, and you go to Denver where it's about 5,000, you're going to have to add 7% to that 150 yard number. You're going to do that for every club. Same here, we're basically at zero. Some places even negative. So I'm taking 7% off of my distances. So if I hit a pitching wedge 140 yards normally back home, here it's going to go about 133, which is a huge difference. If I go to a par 4 and I got 140, I'm thinking I'm just going to hit a normal wedge, and I come up 23 feet short, and I thought I just pured it. Well, it's because I didn't take into account that the ball doesn't go as far here. So that's really very important. Lastly, we're going to talk about yardage books. These are the road maps for your tournament. And you can buy these things. You see I got one here. Probably $20 anywhere you go. Most places will have them. And these are really important for off the tee, especially on the green. I'll talk about a little more of what to put in those exactly. But some places unfortunately don't have any. Mostly country clubs, because the members know the course so well they don't even need them. So what you're going to do instead is you're going to get a book a lot smaller than this, but you're going to hand draw. And what you're going to want to do is kind of get a rough drawing of what the hole looks like. If you aren't as skilled of a drawer as me, then I'm sorry. But basically you want to point out bunkers, carries. You can see 273 carry the bunker here. Get an idea of what the green is, how deep the green is. If there's any slopes, there's one about 16 yards here. Definitely want to point that out. Little arrows. And then down here I would have my sight line of where I want to hit it off the tee. So I have a plan going into the green. So that's just a couple things to help you guys get started. Next week I will talk about a little more in depth of what to put in those yardage books and some of the faults players will have in practice rounds.